Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 3 is finally here, and this is one of the best season releases in a while. Not saying it's the best season, but I am saying this is the best way to drop a season on the first day. They gave us just enough to keep us entertained, but they kept a lot of stuff else that's going to come later in the season, which I'm very happy they did. It really feels like Chapter 5 just keeps getting better and better and better. First, we got Season 1, which is very impactful for the game, and honestly super fun. I don't know, people don't like it as much. Then we got Season 2, very overhated season. I loved it. But then we got Season 3, which has one-upped both of these, and so far is the best out of the three. The game not only feels super alive when you start the game, but even mid and end of the game, it still feels super chaotic, gives us the perfect vibes of the season, and the trailer perfectly represents this. I don't think any Fortnite trailer has perfectly represented the season the way this one has. And it's only gonna get crazier and crazier with how much we're getting, and maybe even a Pirates of the Caribbean collab, but we're gonna save that for the end of the chapter to review. But really quickly, I just want to give my first impressions of the season. I'm really enjoying it so far, as you can tell, but let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. Now, starting off with the battle pass, this is probably the best we've gotten this entire chapter. I know a lot of people like the Greek god battle pass, and I did at first, to be honest with you guys, but really by the end, I only cared for Hades and a little bit of Aphrodite, and I barely even use those skins in general. I think a lot of that can be chopped up to the fact that we had so much boring skins midway through the battle pass, so I couldn't really use the fun or good skins until the end of the season when I was kind of bored of it. But Mechanics, that tier 1 is amazing. This skin is probably my favorite this entire season, especially with the extra style she has, which is all red. Love that style. I really like Rust too, which I hear a lot of people saying they don't like as much. I don't understand that. Rust is goated. I love him with his mask on and mask off. I do it for the mask on version, but both skins just go hard. Megalodon is tough. I'm really happy about him. I am a little mad he's kind of bulky, but other than that, he looks crazy. I was super happy with the follow collab. I think it's amazing that they're doing this, and honestly, I don't even know if I count this as a collab in the battle pass because it's so on theme that if they did something just like it, it wouldn't even be a collab at that point. So low-key, I'm not gonna count it, I'm not gonna lie. But that Black Knight version just goes crazy. Peabody's a really good meme skin. Probably not gonna use him at all, but I still like how he looks. I do like the dummy a little bit more, but it's whatever. Scar is by far the worst skin in the entire pass. I do not like how it looks, but I still do think it's more deserving of the spy than Bright Raider. We have got this skin reskinned like 15 times, especially in this one chapter. I don't know why they keep... There's literally one in the item shop right now that's a reskin. Like, this looks way more like a crew pack skin, and I do really like the June crew pack skin, so I'm not complaining too much, but this should not be in the pass. I think the Ray Scar skin was way more deserving of this, but I do understand it is the ranked skin. Other than that, though, of course, you have Magneto as the secret skin, which I'm super hyped about. I love Magneto, and I'm really happy he's gonna kind of lead us into the Marvel season. Great villain, great skin. Overall, really solid pass. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10, maybe a 9 out of 10, but that might be recency bias, so we're gonna have to wait till the end of the season. But like last season, and honestly season 1, this is really on theme with the entire season, so I'm really happy about that. Also, I know I've low-key made myself the chapter 2 glazer on this channel, but I'm taking Mechanics over Jules any day. I don't care what anyone... Moving on to the map, which is arguably one of the best parts of the entire season, maybe even the best, because this map goes crazy. Now, first, it's going to sound a little bit wild, because it's only a small portion, but let me explain. First of all, it expanded the map. It didn't even take over anything, it just expanded the map, which made it even better, because now the map is so much bigger than it was before. But on top of that, I think that POIs being very spread out, but then slowly leaning in when Storm goes through, makes the season feel so much more alive. At first, I was saying that it kind of takes away from the season's theme when we're not in the desert area, but I kind of take this back because it's a lot more chaos mid-game, and I think this season is really represented by the chaos more than the map. So when you have 2 or 3 teams coming from each side of the entire sand biome, slowly leading in mid-game, it goes crazy. Where I'm not even complaining about not feeling the season's theme anymore, because this is literally the season's theme, the chaos of it, and we still do have the Nitro Dome in the middle of the map basically, so I'm not complaining too much. I do still think they should have taken away Pleasant and everything around it, but then again, maybe they'll do it later on in the season, but if they don't, it's not that big of a deal. What is a big deal though are these insane POIs. I love how each season they're bringing these huge POIs. They really make the game feel so much more alive. In season 1, we got Reckless, we got Lavish, and then also I think Ritzy comes in the conversation too, because it wasn't really something we'd seen before. In season 2, we got Mount Olympus, and then also the Underworld added on with Grim Gate and Brawler's Battleground. These are both crazy with how big they were. And the Sand Biome was no exception to this. We got 3 new POIs, kind of 4, but not really. But starting off with Redline Rig, this is probably one of the most chaotic spots to land, and I love that about it. I land here almost every game, because it's so big, it has a very complex layout, but it's super fun to play around in with how much crevices it has all around. And it's also huge and doesn't have filler space, like it actually has stuff all around it. It just has a really amazing design that delivers the season perfectly. I don't care what anyone says, this is the best POI this season. Brutal Beach Hit is another amazing POI. I thought this was going to be in the water, ends up being in the sand, which I thought was really cool. I mean, we kind of knew a few days before the season started that it was going to be in the sand, but still, I'm pretty hyped about it anyways. This POI is huge. The boss is sometimes here. Same with Redline Rig. Both of the bosses are pretty easy to fight, but hard for Fortnite standards, I'd say, because they can lay down some pretty crazy attacks. But at least you're not constantly getting bum rushed by a bunch of guards, which they definitely fixed from season 1. But I really enjoy this POI, although I don't really like to land here as much, because if I want to fight the guy, I just get third-partied, so it's not the best place to land if you want to get the stuff he has. But either way, it's still really good POI if you just want to land there. And of course, you have Nitro Dome, which in my opinion is better mid-game, because everyone just ends up here and starts roaming around the whole stadium in cars, crashing into each other, blowing each other up. This is one of the best parts about the season, although I just don't really like to land here as much because it's pretty open, but that is a good thing about the season that I'm going to get into. But this whole place just really feels like a Beyblade stadium. At this POI, there is a boss, but she's always there. At the other two, the bosses kind of roam around the map sometimes, and then sometimes will just sit at their POIs. I think this is a really good mechanic because it keeps the game feeling unpredictable each time you get in, especially with the armored battle bus they roam around in. And someone pointed out in my chat that there's less third-partying at these places where the bosses are roaming around. Now, Sandy Steps isn't too big of a change, not really a mentionable POI here, but it is still pretty interesting, and I did land there. It does feel a little bit different, but it's not that game-changing. Honestly, I feel like they could have made a new POI here, but we already did get a lot, so I'm not complaining. I would have been fine with Sandy Steps just being here though if they added back sand tunneling. That could have made this POI more interesting a little bit, but whatever. Now, one thing I don't hear as much people talking about is how much mini POIs we have around the sand biome. Almost anywhere you go, you'll find another mini POI. These small locations are another thing that keep the game feeling super alive, and even if you don't want to land at a big POI because there's a lot of people there, you'll still land somewhere and still get a good fight by the end of the first circle, honestly. Because these POIs are everywhere in the sand biome, which is really interesting. There's no blank space or wasted space anywhere here, and it's really interesting too because there's a lot of other places outside of the sand biome where you can find these locations also. Especially with the new cars added, you're almost always going to get a fight at least like 3 minutes into the game, if you're landing sand, of course. There's a bunch of car stuff around the map, like ramps and these nitro boosts, which are also amazing. You can even use these without a car, which is super fun. I really like this addition, and it keeps the season refreshing. Like I said, there's so much unpredictability to it, and I just love that about it. And lastly, the map just feels super open, which I think is a great addition to the season with how it is themed, especially in zero builds. It's honestly more fun. I don't even play zero builds, but this season I might start to do it because it's so much better in zero builds. It's definitely harder, but it's way more fun. Now, my bad for rambling about the map for so long. I won't do it as much for the loophole because not everything's in yet, but I'm still going to talk a fair amount about the loophole. But overall, this loophole is so unique and interesting. It's really game-changing, honestly. It's so much better than Season 2's, and I did like Season 2's loophole, but this is a crazy upgrade. First of all, the ARs are great. The TAC AR got a buff, which makes it probably the best AR in the game. Way better than the Warforged, in my opinion. I do like the Warforged, but TAC AR all the way. Outside of those two ARs, we did get the Enforcer AR back, which I'm pretty happy about. I've always liked this gun, not as much as the other two ARs, but it's still there, it's still interesting, and I still will use it time to time. They removed the sniper and kept the DMR, which is a great addition in my opinion. I love the DMR, hate the sniper. It was really annoying. I don't think anyone really used it by the end of Season 2, or they might have just removed it, honestly. I'm not even keeping track of the sniper at this point. But other than that, this shotgun meta, which is my favorite gun to use, I love close encounter fights, is amazing. I love how the shotguns are this season. The combat shotgun is definitely my favorite Chapter 5 gun. I know we've got it previously, but it is new now because they upgraded it. And it's out of the Chapter 5 loophole. The combat shotgun is definitely the best. The Gatekeeper's a close second though. I still love it, but it's not as much as the combat. We also have the hammer pump still in the game, but I don't even want to talk about that gun. It's so bad. And just keeping the burst in for the entire chapter is such a W, bro. I love this SMG so much. Now, I have been asking for the Excalibur or a Excalibur reskin to be in the game, and we kind of low-key got it. This new boom crossbow is amazing. My second favorite gun this season behind the combat shotgun. I just love how it works so much. Any gun that's like this is super fun, and I don't think it's as good as the Excalibur, at least not from my memory, but it is still goated. The new gauntlets, or the name that everyone else likes to call them. Oh, come, bro, what are you doing?
bros fisting the air. Can we stop it with the fisting?
Are probably my favorite thing in the entire loot pool. Probably not as much as the combat. I don't know. I really like both of these, but the gauntlets are great. They're great for mobility. I love slamming down on people after I combo them with an AR or honestly a shotgun. They can go both ways. I've heard a lot of people saying they're busted because you can just walk into people and hit them. Anyone that's done that to me has not succeeded. Well, so a few people have, but majority of the time they usually die to me, and anytime I try to do that, I just end up dying. I do still think the idea of going into someone and punching them is still pretty interesting, and I do like to do it time to time, but it's not really busted in my opinion. But hey, both of the things I wanted in my video, the Excalibur reskin and also the brass knuckles, which you basically got with the punching, is in the game now, so I'm kind of crazy. Put me in epic, man. The nitro stuff is really fun for my ability. I always find myself carrying these around, and I also really like the Nuka-Cola, especially with the addition of how you get the gold after you drink it. I think that's really cool, and it's a nice touch in the game. The mythics are great, and like I said in my season 2 hopes and expectations video, I want them to do guns that aren't in the game for the bosses, so when you kill a boss you get a gun that's not currently in the game. And they kind of did that. Well, they did it with one of them at least, where they gave you the combat AR, and I was gonna say I'm kind of sad it's not in the loot pool, but then again it's only for the boss, and I think that makes the mythic way more special, so I can't really complain. But I do also really like the mythic combat shotgun and also the mythic boom bow, or whatever it's called. I know that's not the proper name, but I don't even care. Also, in the fact you can get previous mythics like the Cerberus shotgun and Oscar's auto was super cool. I do like that little touch they did there, and they didn't fully keep them in the game except for the gatekeeper, of course. Now the thing everyone's been waiting for, the cars. I love the cars this season. The mods are great. Every single one of these is super useful, and I love just ramming into people and doing like 150 damage to them and not really having to do anything else, especially after that when I just hit them with a cannon or my turret. And yes, it's busted, but there's ways to counter it, especially with the gloves or just build. But I will be honest, the mythic cars are kind of crazy, kind of busted, but I do not care. It makes the season so much more fun, especially when you're fighting other mythic cars when you're in one. They do practically one-shot, but every time I die to these, it's just funny, honestly. Now, I have heard some people say that we should run with the anvil launcher, and on top of that, the EMP grenades. Now, I think we should definitely bring back the anvil launcher. That makes sense, because that's going to be a good counter for them, especially with the gloves too. But I do not think we should bring EMP grenades back in, just because then the cars would not be fun at all, and it would just ruin the point. Like, if you just got thrown an EMP grenade launcher every time you try to use a car, it's not going to be fun. And I think it would take the lively feel the season has completely out of the game. But I do just really like the cars in general. I'm happy they're finally doing stuff with them again. It's been so long since cars had a purpose. I think Mega was the last time that we got a big upgrade of cars, so I'm really happy about this. Overall, this season is very chaos, and that's what I love about it. Super fun. If you haven't tried the season out yet, you gotta go try it out. If you don't like this season because you tried it out one game, go try it again, bro. I don't know what you're tripping on. But hey, you know, this season definitely will not be the thing for some people. I could see a lot of people hating it with how chaotic it is, but in my opinion, this is what I come to Fortnite for, and I'm very happy that Fortnite has that feel again. But tell me what you guys think in the comments about this season. Overall, I think it's looking very promising and could honestly be a top 5, maybe even top 3 for me if they do it right.